welcome to Bribie Baptist Evening Church. So please join with us as we begin our first song, praising God together. So stand with me as we sing this. Let me out of the desert, brought me into his streams, rivers of living water, turn my bitter into sweet. All my burdens are lifted, took the shackles off my feet, and there's no sound louder than a captive set free. So let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Sing of his promises evermore. Pour out your faithfulness and let it overflow. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. There is joy in the morning, springing up from my soul. There's a life worth living, because he calls me his own. There's a hallelujah after sweet victory, and there's no sound louder than a captive set free. No, there's no sound louder than a captive set free. Don't let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Sing of his promises evermore. Pour out your faithfulness and let it overflow. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Sing of his promises evermore. Pour out your faithfulness and oh, let it overflow. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled seas. Oh, oh, you are the peace in my troubled seas. In the silence you won't let go. In the questions your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled seas. Oh, oh, you are the peace in my troubled seas. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, I think it's Ray is doing the announcements. Is that correct? All right.
Well, hello everybody, and good evening. Welcome to all of you. Great topic tonight. What are friends for, hey? We all need a friend, am I right? I have a friend, a little dog. I keep him at home, and he's a very nice friend, and that's good. No, I'm talking rubbish. I had a friend, but he's left. But my best friend now is my wife. There we go. Absolutely. A lot of guesses coming out there. Hey, I haven't got too many announcements tonight, but next week, does anybody know what the topic is for next week? Next Sunday night? Any guesses? No? All right, we'll get it up on the screen just now and show you so that you can all see. But next week's going to be pretty exciting. So we've got some nice stuff to talk about. The other thing is important to know is that we're collecting hampers for those who are struggling over the Christmas time. So if you would like to give something to a family that are struggling, we love to serve our community, care for our community. Just bring it to the church during the week, or when you come on the weekends, just come, and we're going to put these hampers together and go give them out to people in need in the community. Okay? That's all announcements. I'm going to ask Talia to come up. She's going to do some stuff with us. Thank you, Talia.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight's theme is all around friendship. So I'm going to ask my friend Sam to come up. So come up, Sammy. Okay, I have a job for you. I just need someone to hold some books for me. So could you just put your arms, both arms just out like this, ready? Okay, we'll see how many you can hold. Are you feeling strong? Good. Okay. I got the lightest books I could find. So, there you go. One. How many do you think you can hold?
I don't know. Maybe like 5, maybe? I don't know.
5? Oh, good. Okay, well, we'll put this small one on. Okay, how's that? Oh, don't bend your elbows, love. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so friendship. So in Ecclesiastes it says, 2 are better than 1 because they get a better return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. So, how are you going there, Sam?
I feel like a good job.
Oh, do you need a hand?
Yep.
Okay. Can somebody else give her a hand? Yeah. Oh, it's your friend Christian. Oh, you're the best. So maybe if you both were holding the books, it would be a little easier. Yeah. So maybe if you, turn around, show everyone your nice face. Yeah. So, and with that, I could even add some more burdens to you. So between you, how's that? Is that all right? Yeah. So between you guys can do a whole lot more, and you could probably carry more, but Christian doesn't want to show off. But you could probably carry a whole lot more than that, because that's what friends are for. We carry each other's burdens. So there you go. Thank you, guys. You could put them down now. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. We're going to go into our panel time now. So I'd like to invite up Mike, Des, and Harry to come up. And as they come up, I'm going to move stuff. Just sit wherever. I'm going to sit on this side. I'm going to break the tide. I usually sit at the other end.
Thank you.
Sorry about the hard seats. You older men. Can we please have the first slide up? So tonight we're going to be looking at the question, are friends important? And it will come up in a second.
Sorry. They don't have the slide for next week, so let me tell you what's happening next week. We've got a special guest coming all the way from Brisbane, and this guest is going to be talking about a very, very difficult topic. So we're not going to have a panel like normally, but we've got this special guest coming to talk about the tough subject of abortion. So if you have any questions about it, please invite your friends. This is an incredibly important topic, and we want to talk about it. We have to talk about it because it's an important topic, all right? So if next week, remember next Sunday night, guest speaker, and we're going to be talking about abortion. Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Ray. So tonight, we won't have pieces of paper out there, but if you have any questions to do with tonight's topic, we can address them at the end. Feel free, put your hand up, and we can talk about it at the end of the panel discussion. So, Mike, can you grab a microphone from there? Yeah, just one of those. So tonight's topic is, are friends important? Now, this seems like a very straightforward topic. When I was preparing, I was kind of like, this is going to be straightforward. But I want to tease it out a little bit more just to get a bit more, benefit for all of us as we think about friendship and whether friends are actually important. So to start off, I'm going to ask each of you to think of one really good friend. You may call them a best friend. Not your spouse, except for you, Harry. You don't have a spouse. But for you two, you're not allowed to think of your wife. Think of one friend. How did you meet? Anyone can answer first.
I'll start then, yep. This is on. Yeah, it's good. All good. I think I'm going to stick to guys anyway, even though you said no spouse. So my friend Matty, I met him at Cape Rene last year. Do I say why I consider him a good friend, or just how I met him?
Whatever.
Yep. Yeah, he's just he's really encouraging. He helped a lot in my faith journey. We related in a lot of ways, and he's one of the people I keep in contact with, even though I'm now no longer there, and we're a long way apart. Mm-hmm. So yeah. That's me. Cape and Ray last year. That was me.
I guess we're right. The best friend that I've had is no longer with us. He's gone home to glory. But his name was Ron, and he was the one who led me to the Lord when we were both in the Air Force way back in 1974. And some of you would have met his son, who spoke here just recently. Alan and Leanne. Yeah, he was the one who led me to the Lord and put me on the path that I'm on now.
I've been fortunate enough to have quite a few good friends over the years, and almost all of them will go back to even when I was 5 years old or whatever, and almost all of them I met doing something together, sharing an interest together, just side by side, doing something. And maybe one little story. One of the best friends I had, he was best man at our wedding. He and I met in the back of a ski boat. If you know The Odd Couple, we were like both Felix Ungers. He was at the back of the boat straightening up the ski ropes while I was picking seaweed or whatever off the side and straightening up the tank, and we kind of looked over at each other, and a friendship started from there, but we had a lot of other things in common, we found out too.
That's awesome. I have a friend. We talk occasionally. I was at his wedding earlier this year, and we met in high school when we'd met when I was 13, but we had actually kicked off a friendship, I think, when I was 14, when he invited me to do this thing called OptiMinds, which is just like this competition that goes across the schools. It's a whole bunch of nerds and creatives that get together and like do something creative and present it to a whole bunch of people. And they needed an extra person, and he was like, "Hey, Jerry, come along to this thing. I don't know you. You're a bit weird, but we'll get you along." And then we just became really good friends from that. So you can meet friends in a whole bunch of different ways. The next slide. So the question that I have is, what is a friend? we have heaps of different definitions for friends. One could be like we think of friends sometimes as a Facebook friend. We use the word like a verb where you friend someone, you make them your friend on Facebook. But during my week, I did a little bit of like reading up on the topic of friendship, and I found this definition in the dictionary. What dictionary is it again? No, Merriam-Webster. It's a pretty old dictionary, but it's on the internet, and it says a friend is someone who one attached to another by affection or esteem, and then the second one in the same category is acquaintance. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between a friend and acquaintance in a second, but basically someone who you are drawn to, basically, and they are drawn to you, and that's a way that a friendship begins, but also a way that it continues. There's some sort of, I love the way that it says it's some sort of affection there towards the other person. That's not like language we use a lot today, but it's like warm feelings towards another person. They're your friend. So, Des, what kind of friends can we have?
Well, I think we can have friends that last only a short time, and we can have friends, real friends, who last a lifetime. And to give you an idea, when I was in the Air Force, before I became a Christian, I used to go out drinking quite a lot, and I'd go out with one particular group. Anyway, after I became a Christian, they said, look, we don't want you coming out with us anymore because you don't drink. So I lost that group of friends who really weren't friends. They were more acquaintances through a common purpose. And yet then God brought in a real friend who I just spoke about, Ron. And we were friends for a lifetime.
Yeah, so we can have friends that are short, friends that are for your whole life. We were talking earlier today about different kinds of friends, that you can have friends that are mentors and friends that are kind of side by side. And I think you were saying Ron was one of those friends that was a mentor but also a side by side friend?
No, Ron, that was a different Ron. There's been a number of Rons.
Yeah. So many Rons in this guy's life.
Oh, well, in the first Ron's life, two Rons married sisters.
Two Rons make... I can't take that anywhere. I can't take that anywhere. Sorry.
But after I got out of the Air Force, went into the Army, I met another Ron in Townsville, and he started getting me to learn scripture through navigators, and I still refer to those today, 45 years later. And that was for me, that was he wasn't actually a mentor as such, but he was a close friend who saw that he could have a positive impact in my life, which he did.
Yeah, that's really awesome. On the topic of friends and all of that, Mike, is it important to be yourself in friendships?
Absolutely.
Why?
I just knew you were going to ask that.
It's like it's on a sheet or something.
In one sense, I was thinking about this. In one sense, it's absolutely important to be yourself, because if you're not going to be yourself, you must have some idea inside you that this person isn't going to accept me or like me if I'm not myself. And that's pretty well doomed from the start. And that happens a lot in guy-girl relationships. We try to impress the girl or the guy by not really being ourselves. And there's actually a lot of divorces come about that way too, because someone has been somewhere and finally they get hitched, and then they find out who they really are. and it's a disaster. But absolutely important to be yourself, because if you're not, you're going to have a tough row to hoe there for the rest of your life, trying to put on pretense after pretense. And you see it a lot in your teenage years. Potentially there's one group of people and you even wear a certain set of clothes and talk a certain way. And then over here you're talking this and that. And you can do that. Not that I know a lot of it. I didn't become a Christian till late in my teens, but I've seen a lot in churches where young people actually, with their Christian friends, it's all one way, and then they start talking other ways with their non-Christian friends to fit in. And pretty soon, you're doing the split. Just one little comment on the friends bit. It was interesting. I had a little look in the New Testament. The word friend, by the way, it's really, there's no Greek word for friend hardly. You can get a few that come close to companion, but what we get in our English translations comes from the word philos and agapetos. And if you know philos, P-H-I-L, is it's about love, a kind of love, like Philadelphia is phila, love, Adelphia, or brothers, the city of brotherly love. And then the agapetos, you've heard about agape love. So really it comes back to this affection, this love for someone else, a respect and like of and drawing to, the word friend.
Yeah, there's a sense in which the way that the Bible defines it is very similar to this, but I think it's a little bit more accurate. Well, not more accurate, but more nuanced in how friendships are expressed. Like this is very broad, one attached to another by affection or esteem. And their example there is she's my best friend, but that doesn't tell you much about what kind of relationship that means, which kind of leads us to the next question. What's the difference between a friend and an acquaintance? Harry?
Yeah, so acquaintance, I'd say most people, in fact probably 99% of people I know, would in fact really be more of an acquaintance than a friend. I've met them once or twice, or I might even see them every day. But I'd say they're mostly nice people, otherwise I wouldn't really hang with them at all. But it's really just, we have a good time, we share some common interests, that kind of thing. It's just good hanging out with them, kind of. But a friend, I think the Bible says a friend loves at all times. We really only share the good times with our acquaintances. But friends, they help us in our times of need. We can be weak around our friends, like if you cry next to someone and they can't handle it and they walk off or whatever else, I don't know, they might not be a friend, you know. They won't think any less of you if you're weak around them, if you're yourself around them. You can trust them with secrets and struggles. There's a lot of things, you know, you just don't want to share with just anyone. But yeah, trust is really deep with friends. I'd say some of the people I've, like, it's really very rare that I have a good friend. Like, I really only have one or two at a time. I don't think they have to always be like a long term, but just for whatever chapter of your life you're in, you need a friend. I mentioned Maddie during last year, he was. This year, I reckon Jordan's a good friend to me, just because I do talk about a lot more than just the basic stuff. Just, you know, I'm here, I didn't know anyone in this room before 6 months ago, except sort of Talia and Caleb and Ray, but yeah. So just thought that I'm in a new chapter here and I've got a really good friend, and I think really I only need one, just one person I can just unload about things with or whatever else. You don't need a lot of them, but you can talk about anything with them, and they're okay with that.
So basically, the difference is kind of how close they are to you. You can have a lot of people who are, you know, to use the metaphor, at arm's length around you, that we would say
they
that
see
they're
your
friends.
mask, your front, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
your
like
social face.
You have your social face that's all these people, and then there's those people who come closer to you, and they actually get to know you, get to know not just like, oh, this, you know, Harry doesn't like pizza and he likes this instead, but like actually gets to know, you know, more of his life and how he thinks and what he appreciates and the things that move him, I guess. Like I would say for me, that's what has been the biggest differences when I've experienced true friendship, is that there's kind of this like intimacy that you don't get with just random people that you know, and you may see them every day, but it's a special kind of relationship that you have.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably you're more in common with a romance than an acquaintance in a friendship.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just that kind of depth.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
that you love at all times. You care each other. It's not like, you know, it's not the same as romance. There's other differences, but
Yeah.
you know, you can have 2 or 3 friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'll just love movies where I just see a friendship like done well.
Yeah.
You know, romances aren't as much a thing, but I love friendships. Yeah.
All right, no.
Sorry, went
A
on
little
there.
too much information.
And here we are. Now we are all friends with Harry because he's told. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, I'm trying to make friends of the whole room now.
Jordan, is that true, do you reckon? Is what he's given us the straight goods?
Can you testify? No, I'm kidding. On a stand. All right, let's move to the next slide. Proverbs is a book of wisdom in the Old Testament. It's a book of sayings that the main author of it is Solomon, but basically it's all of these wisdom sayings that have been passed down to bring up, originally was to bring up the Jewish young men in the ways of God, in the ways of wisdom. And so we find a few statements. We actually don't find a lot of statements. I thought we would find a lot more statements in Proverbs about friendship. But there's a few things that Solomon or the other contributors to Proverbs write. And this is one of the things. It says, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." That's found in Proverbs 18:24. Mike, how can many companions be a bit of a ruin to us?
How can many companions be part of a ruining of us? Okay. The first thing I want to say is I got some notes from Jerry a few days ago, and I had a look at this proverb. It's actually one of the most, not disputed so much as differently translated proverbs in the entire Bible. I looked at the King James Version, the New American Standard, the New NIV, the RSV, and a partridge in a pear tree. There were 5 different ways it was actually translated, and I'm not just talking about, you know, a different word for the same word. It actually quite differently. But I spent some time with it, and my Hebrew is extremely rusty. However, the literal Hebrew, and confirmed by someone, is a man of friends is broken to pieces. A man of friends is to be broken to pieces. And the differences are all in the first half of this proverb. The second half, they all go, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And they all agree with that. But the first one is basically in straight Hebrew, a man of friends is to be broken into pieces. That doesn't really help, does it? That doesn't really help. I spent a bit more time with it, and I've got my own paraphrase, and it seems to unite all 5 of these, and that is, there are friends that lead to one's undoing. There are friends that lead to one's undoing, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. So it's not really about you can have a lot of friends and come to ruin, although that could happen, but it's not like when you get a lot of friends, you'll come to ruin. That's actually what the New American Standard says. A man of many friends comes to ruin. It's more there are friends, or so-called friends, that lead to your undoing. But there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. So in general, you know, how can many companions or any companions lead to ruin would be, in general, you can get led astray by your friends. And it happens all the time. I mean, when I was probably 5, maybe 6. My best friend was a kid 2 years older than me across the court that we lived in, Koala Court. He had a BB gun. Well, he taught me how to shoot that BB gun. And old Mr. Davidson, he had some nice windows outside of his house, some extra windows there, and those windows got full of holes. A little bit later on, I remember some of my best friends on my basketball team in high school, junior high. Early on in junior high, they'd learned how to steal stuff from the local Sears shopping center. Well, I got pretty nifty at that myself, and then I launched out into things I like better than aftershave, and that was chocolate bars in the local Super Value. Well, that one came to a bit of ruin when I got sent home in a police car. You know, that one failed. And then through high school, there was the pressure to be sexually active, the pressure to smoke and take drugs. And I resisted those things, by and large. But there are friends that can lead to one's undoing. And you can share a lot with them, and then they sort of throw down the gauntlet. If you're really my friend, or if you're really in the group with us, you'll partake. I mean, I can remember going to places in the, probably it was the 70s by then, I was in late high school, and suddenly the marijuana, the weed comes out, and the joint's being passed around the circle. Will he, will he, will he? Will she, will she, will she? And I think that's really what this is about. There's friends that can lead you absolutely astray, and if you want to have them, you'll do this, you reckon. And you've got to make some sort of stand there and be yourself in that situation, or you're done for. You're done for. You're just a clone. Now, the way that says it up there, up here, I think there's some truth in that as well. A person of many friends or companions may come to ruin. There's no guarantee having a whole bunch of friends you won't come to ruin, because some you could be led astray or whatever. But it's also, if you are somebody who just is everybody's pal but nobody's friend, you actually can end up very alone, and especially when trouble hits. And so, you know, trying to be everybody's friend can lead to ruin in that sense. So that's a long answer, but
yeah, I think that's. I think you touched on really important points there. So, yeah, like if you split yourself over a lot of friends, you don't go deep with anyone. You don't get to experience what Harry was talking about, that kind of friendships. Man, I'm really sorry this has become a joke. It's legit, all right?
I wondered why you put Harry on the panel tonight, actually, but I know.
Anyways, we'll keep going. Have you, Des, have you ever had a friend that has stuck closer to you than a brother?
I see you wanted to change tack a little bit.
Yeah, just...
You wanted to lift the game. But yes.
Elaborate.
I know. Yeah, I've been very blessed by God because I've got 4 friends who have been closer than a brother. And I've already mentioned one, but I've, apart from having Dorothy as my best friend, and I noticed that we weren't supposed to talk about our spouse.
No, you're not allowed to. Stop. Stop. No, kidding.
But I've also got 2 friends in Bundaberg who are closer than a brother, and we have been very good friends for about 45 years, and so it's their friendships where you trust each other. You keep confidential, anything that's confidential, you maintain. They know that they can trust you. You know you can trust them, and that's the basis of a good, strong friendship.
Yeah. Can we go to the next slide? I think this is a really good way to summarize what we've been saying so far. Friends are, number one, few. Not just based on that verse, but a lot of us up here, and I imagine down there, can testify that you don't have lots of close friends. you have very few of them. You know, 1, 2, like you were saying, Des, you had 4 that have been really close over your lifetime. And so I think friends are few because there needs to be like some sort of closeness, which leads us to number 2. Friends are close. They are closer to you than a brother. Like there's a friend who sticks with you that close. They're almost family. And sometimes, in fact, they feel like more than family because it's just a different relationship. And then lastly, friends are good. Where Des was talking about, there's like that trust. There's just really good things that comes with friendship that, you know, you don't get stuck on your own. You have other people to lean on. There's someone to kind of express yourself to them in a, like communicating to them, talking to them. And they get to like respond to you, so it's not just stuck
But
in you.
they don't always need to respond.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
listen.
Yeah. So I think, as it says up there, friends are few, friends are close, friends are good, and that kind of leads us to our next topic, which is talking about loneliness. I wanted to talk about, you know, friends are good because loneliness is painful and hard, and it's not good for us to be alone. In Genesis, it talks about how when God created humanity, he made man and that he was alone and there was no one that was like with him. And yes, that talks about marriage, but I think that also talks about the importance of relationship in general, that humans are made for friendship. Humans are made to interact with other human beings. And so I did a little bit of looking up. I found this graph on loneliness, and I found it really interesting. That blue block should be an arrow. But anyways, it was pointing at the most lonely age is actually from 16 to 24. This was in the UK. They did a study in 2017 where they looked at different age brackets and found that the loneliest people are actually the youngest people, which I found really interesting. You know, you think at our age, I'm no longer in that bracket, but oh, that's really sad. No, between 16 and 24, you get to meet a lot of people. You know, you're doing a lot of things. You're milling around with new people all of the time. Yet this is the age where people feel the loneliest. Whereas up here, 75 plus, there's, you know, 28% of people never feel lonely. Whereas in the 16 to 24 range, 11% of people never feel lonely. I think that's really significant, and it means that it's really important for younger people to understand the importance of friendship and to actually seek out good friendships earlier on, so they don't feel as lonely earlier on. Do you guys have anything you want to say about that?
Well, I think the 16 to 24 is you're still trying to identify who you are. You're still trying to work out just, you know, who you are in the zoo. You know, because you're struggling to just work out your own identity. You're struggling to work out your own place in society, in life, and you're also struggling to find that opposite sex, company. That for me was the struggle was always trying to find that female friend, that romantic friend, and we all go through those experiences, but we're trying to find out who we are at that period. But I would also like to say that there are a lot more. I think I'm not sure on the figures from 23% in the over 70s, 75s.
75s, yeah.
But I see a lot of people who are in their 80s, 90s, who are lonely, they're not alone, but they're lonely in the sense that all their close friends, all their colleagues, their close friends, their spouses have passed away, and now they're just waiting for their time, and it's a really difficult time for a lot of people, and so yeah, look, I honestly can't give you facts and figures, but just from experience. So.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be the case. Like when I saw these numbers, and obviously there's probably countless studies that have been done on this. I was surprised that this wasn't more, just because of the age, like you were saying. Their friends are dying, and so you're losing that. And then, younger people generally in our society don't gravitate towards older people as easily. There isn't that, I guess, going out of your way to look after elders. I don't know if that's been your experience.
Look, I think that's a misnomer.
Oh.
I think you'll find that the young and the old connect fairly easily, right? The young don't connect with their parents so well, but they connect, with the older person. It might be a grandparent or or an elderly neighbour. I think that young and old can connect.
I'd say probably it's more that society kind of keeps them apart.
Yeah.
I think, I found I connect very well with old people when I'm amongst old people, but it's just not often.
Yeah.
That I find
Yeah, I
myself
find
in
the
that
same thing.
situation. Yeah.
Now that you've spoken, Harry,
Yes.
how has loneliness affected you?
Sure. Yeah, I did find that graph very fascinating. It said 16 to 24, the most loneliest, because it was at 16, actually, when I kind of really started experiencing it a lot. I grew up in a large family, and I actually grew up in a room with 3 older brothers. Our whole life we spent together, homeschool, whatever else. My brother Donovan moved out a bit, but then in 2010 or 11, I think it was, my brothers Hudson and Mosh both moved out. They both went to Melbourne to study, and I was suddenly left by myself. And really, I suppose I hadn't sought friends out that much because like I said, I only need 1 or 2, and they were my 2. And then they were suddenly gone. And I'd say probably between the ages of 16 and 18, that was probably the most lonely 2 years of my life. So in the ways it affected me, I'd say I didn't have a lot of the peer encouragement. There was friendly rivalry between them, like we spurred each other on to do better. It was I felt low so often because there was just no one to talk to on an equal level. My parents, it's a little different. I can talk about some things, but there's just the stuff that peer friends, I miss with them. Accountability was gone as well, and it was nowhere near where it was when I had my brothers with me. And I can remember just how much my grades in school just went down. Between those 2 years, I just went so poorly. So just loneliness, it affected me so much in those 2 years. Another thing, I think loneliness I've seen throughout, I had experienced another time in my early 20s, also within that 24 bracket. Funny, that 24 was probably really where I started figuring it out and getting it sorted. So yeah, that was definitely a lonely 8 years for me. So I found that it affects me spiritually a lot. I think Christianity has a very major relational dynamic to it. It's not just what you know in the Bible and all that, but Christians need each other, and you need the relationship with God, not just to know the facts about Him. And I've found that without good Christian friends around you, it just goes down. You need friends just to keep yourself going strong and well. And I think not only as loneliness, I found how that's affected me, but last year, I found the absence of loneliness was such a high point in my faith. Like last year, there was just that time I was on the road trip when I first came here. It was me and 7 other young people. The camaraderie, we spent 24/7, like all our time with each other in those 4 weeks. We all became amazingly good friends through that time. We could share everything with any of us. Like I had 7 friends in a car with me for a month and a half, and I never felt better in my life, and particularly in my faith. I felt so close to God. I felt so confident preaching and sharing with just strangers on the street, like things like I'd never done before. Like, yeah. I mean, so that's kind of the opposite, but just loneliness affects you so much in your walk, in your accountability. It's just so negative. Yeah. And just friends, lots of them. It's just amazing. Yeah. So that's loneliness for me.
We'll probably... Yeah, Des. Sorry, guys. I'm just thinking through, looking at the time and looking at what we have left. Do you think it's okay for us to experience or to be lonely?
Yes, I think it's okay to, throughout your life, to have periods of loneliness. It also helps you to truly appreciate the fact that God promised He would never leave you or forsake you, so that He's always with us, and that as we develop our close friends, no matter where we are, we can be lonely for them. Yeah, they may not be with us, and we can feel that we're alone. But we're never really alone. It's okay to have those periods of loneliness. It just helps you to appreciate the relationship that you do have when they come around.
Yeah, definitely. Can we get the next slide up? So this is a quote from an article that I read, and it started off the article, so it was talking about making good friends. The article started off by saying, our society tends to place an emphasis on romantic relationships. We think that just finding that right person will make us happy and fulfilled, but research shows that friends are actually even more important to our psychological welfare. Friends bring more happiness into our lives than virtually anything else. Friendships have a huge impact on our mental health and happiness. So that's on the help guide, helpguide.org, making good friends. That's the article if you want to read it. It was actually really interesting. I was going to ask you, Mike, how accurate do you think this quote is? And are romantic relationships everything they're made out to be?
I think that our society does tend to place an emphasis on romantic relationships, not necessarily marriage, but often sex. And that's almost what romantic relationship has come to mean. And I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that friends can be even more important to our psychological welfare than a spouse can be. And some of that goes back to what I said before about often you're not yourself, actually, with the person you marry. But when I was in high school, in junior high, which in Canada for me was grade 8 to 10, when I was in high school, that's when I went out a couple times with some girls. We were going steady, I think, but I was so into sport that steady for me didn't mean quite steady what they had in mind. But the relationships were not very meaningful, and they never lasted. And they were very poor. It was mostly my fault, I think, because I wasn't here for the long haul for some girl. I was here to find out about girls a little more and maybe have something to tell my friends. But what happened was I found I was relating to the girls as an object of romance rather than a full person. And so that doomed it from the start, really. And late high school, well, it wasn't late high school, it was into university, I became a Christian. And that radicalized everything. I suddenly had girlfriends. Not girlfriends, but girlfriends. And, meeting Jesus changed things completely for me, because he said, you got to stop looking at women, girls like that. They're full people just like you are. And it wasn't too many years later that I met Rosalind, with whom I had and have a full-orbed relationship. We laugh together, we cry together, and we're also pretty romantic still. And I'm not, that's wonderful. So both those things have come together for me in a marriage. It doesn't mean you won't need, and she doesn't need, other friends outside that. I think they're very, very healthy to have, because anything, it can get ingrown as well, and you need perspective on things. So those other friends are very important, and especially friends with guys and Roz with women, where you can talk from a different perspective. But I think the thing that has come through to me loud and clear was meeting Jesus just changed completely how I looked at people of the opposite sex. They're a whole person. They're not just a romantic object. And that's huge. That's huge. Where I then had a lot of good girlfriends, too. And as you say, Harry, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. There's a security that comes to you when you have friends. And they are important right through life, as that indicates.
Yeah. Yeah, what you were saying, Mike, reminds me of a passage in 1 Timothy where Paul is encouraging Timothy in his relationships with different people in his church. And he says, relate to older men as fathers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters, in all purity, he adds. And so it's that whole like opposite sex relationships. There is an essence where it can go to a romantic stage, but you can have friendships with people of the opposite sex. It'll be different to the same sex.
I had heaps of them.
Yeah.
And we were aware that I was a guy and they were girls. We knew that.
Yeah.
But we also, even in that, it was, I'm okay as a guy because these girls think I'm okay as a guy and I think they're okay as girls. We're not going to get married, but we still can value each other as someone of the opposite sex. And that gives you even a safe confidence for when you meet that person that you do want to marry.
Yep.
A wholesome, safe relationships like that.
Yep. Yeah, so I think what this quote is getting at is just, we try to overemphasize romantic relationships as the relationship that humans are, that's all that you need to go for. Whereas friendships, and I was saying this to Des, I think it was Des or Mike, I'm pretty sure it was Des today. Friendships are the thing that's going to stick with you all of your life. You may be married or in a relationship for some of your life, but friendships are the thing that are always going to be there, no matter what. And so that's, I think, the importance of friendships. Like even when I got married, when I first got married, lots of our friends kind of stepped away because they were like, oh, now you're married. But we experienced a lot of loneliness in that time because we realized, wow, we're really cut off from the help and the friendship of others that we actually need. So, yeah, I think me and my wife really discovered that when we first got married. We were like, oh, wow, we really need outside input. For this marriage, but also for us as individuals. All right. Because of time, we're going to skip the next bit and jump down to tips to grow in friendship with others. If you guys can jump down to that one next. Yes. How to be a friend. I think that's it. Yeah, sorry about that. That was meant to be a little bit bigger. All right, so to finish off tonight, I'm going to ask you three. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone wanting to grow in friendships?
be someone who is real. Yeah, in other words, be yourself, be trustworthy, and keep confidences.
I have, yes. I think we really need to value the friends that we have, because often I don't think friendships always go both ways. Like, you might find them really encouraging, but I don't know if they find you. So just remember to be encouraging to those who are your friends, who you do find a great encouragement to you or a great help to you. Remember to thank them often, and remember to see how they're going at the same time. Remember, a friendship is not all about you. Otherwise, it's really just an acquaintance. It's really not a good friendship. Just remember the other person.
So be a friend.
Be a friend. That's
Don't
right.
just have friends, but be a
Don't just
friend.
have friends, but be a friend. Yeah.
I had about 4 things here, but they already hit 2 of them, so I'll just go with one other. I had quite a few very good friends, guys I could cry with in high school, so that's where I'm coming from, and laugh and drink beer with, etc., before I became a Christian. But to me, I would encourage anyone, build a friendship with Jesus. The security that comes from a friendship with Jesus makes you far much more a candidate for friendship with others. The security you have, because so many of us, without knowing it, we're putting out there, I'm in need, I'm lonely, I want something. And if stacks of your needs are being met in a relationship with Jesus Christ, you are not someone who's sort of with people around you. You have something to give, and then it allows friendships to come as they can, without forcing anything, without demanding anything. So I know it can sound a bit canned to say that, but I honestly believe that. There's a security that enables you to develop friendships with others a lot more easily, and takes away the desperation in your own life. The same would be true of having then a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Because desperate people, not a good start.
Yeah, I found when I became a Christian when I was 15, and I saw the immediate transformation in the way I conducted myself in other relationships, in friendships, because I found security in Jesus. I think that was the biggest thing, was like, friends may fail you, they may betray you, they may do all of the things that, we're talking about tonight that you shouldn't do as a friend or whatever, or be all of that. They may turn their back on you, but Jesus never does. And so then when I entered into friendships and met new people, it was like, you don't put all of that on that person, you put all of that on Jesus. And he's already promised that he won't walk away from you, he won't betray you, he'll always look on you with favor and all of that, instead of how your friends may be in the moment when you've done something wrong, or when they've done something wrong. Like, that relationship is built on something else. Your friendship is built on something else, rather than trying to make them what they can't be. Des, you were going to add something?
Yeah, I was just thinking back to what we were talking about before about loneliness, and the fact that the old saying is that we can be lonely in a crowd. So which is coming back to the whole aspect of many friends. You can be in that crowd of people and be very lonely. But when for me, coming to Christ was in coming to Christ, God gave me so many more friends than I'd had before. Real friends, people you could trust, people who, one of our friends rang us one night and said, "I've just been diagnosed with leukemia. Come and pray with us." Real friends at the worst time. Just inviting you into that space to be with them, and to be able to laugh, cry, and just be yourself with them.
Yeah, you're right. I had a few ideas also for how to be a friend, tips. But I also have stories that that are in the Bible of some people with their friendships and things that we can learn from them. So the first one I have is self-disclosure and the importance of intimacy, which is all about communicating oneself to another person. So letting them know who you are, how you feel, and all of that kind of stuff. And talking to one another, communicating with one another. And I think a really great example of that is the story of David and Jonathan. Jonathan was actually the son of the king at the time. And it says that Jonathan's soul became, what did you say? Became one with David. Like they shared a friendship that was just unlike any other friendship that David had. And so I think they're a really great example of the fact that they actually shared each other in that friendship. Another one is Job and his friends. It's not a great example because it's actually a worse example, but the importance of caring for one another in trouble as friends is really high up. When you're in trouble, you can count on your friends being there, and when they're in trouble, you can be there for them. And then the last one is the friends Barnabas and Paul and Mark. This morning Ray preached on the passage where they actually split up. Two of them, Barnabas and Mark, left because Barnabas and Paul had a disagreement. But Barnabas was known for being someone who build people up, and even though Mark had abandoned them when they were on the missionary journey, Barnabas encouraged Mark to continue going. And eventually, I think it was 15 years later, did you say? 15 years later, Paul actually says Mark is a good person. So they had this massive disagreement and everything, but even after 15 years, they remained friends. And they still built each other up. They didn't abandon each other. And so I guess my encouragement would be you may be going through a rough patch with a friend, but look forward to a time where you can actually reconcile that and build that relationship up again. Des?
Yeah, I'm always encouraged by Barnabas because he was the one who went to get Paul, to bring Paul into ministry, to get him into preaching and teaching. And so, his name actually means son of encouragement. And so, for me, a friend is someone who's going to be an encourager, someone who's going to speak the truth in love, someone who's going to be there for you through the thick and the thin, and be your support.
Definitely, encouragement is a massive part of friendship. Harry, what are you going to add?
Yeah, I was going to talk about Job, and that he's I think there's actually a lot of good that can be said about Job's friends, because he at the lowest point he had nothing, and there's these 4 guys who came and they hung with him for a whole week. I think that just says volumes about them and the level of friends they were to him. Even though when they did start talking, they didn't diagnose the problem right and really weren't particularly sensitive to it. But for the fair bit, they were there and gave him a lot of time of silence and just grieved with him over his loss. I mean, we get it wrong sometimes because we're human and just like them. I suppose we can learn from their mistakes, but I think they were genuinely good friends who were trying to help Job and gave him a lot of time. Sorry.
All right. Now, we'll finish up there. We have one more song to sing. Do people have any questions to do with friendship? Going once, going twice. Sold to the man in the red sweater. All right. Des, can I ask you to pray for us as we close?
Father, we've been very blessed to be able to be here among friends tonight. Lord, as we continue to worship you, we ask that you would accept the praises from our lips and from our hearts. And Father, help us to be people of the book, but people who can be trusted, who can be real friends to others around us. Father, we ask that you would lead us to those people you want us to be friends with, and help us to always praise you and thank you for what you do in our lives. For we pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Jerry and the team. Okay, please stand, everyone. We're singing our final song tonight about the ultimate friend.
Nothing can separate, even if I run away, your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes, but you have me mercies for me every day. Your love never fails. And you stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. Wind is strong and the water's deep, but I'm not alone in these open seas. Your love never fails. The chasm is far too wide. I never thought I'd reach the other side. Your love never fails. And you stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. And you stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. Your love never fails.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We have the Maccas.